Welcome to Grew with Portia, the podcast that uncovers the hidden treasures within grief. I'm your host, Portia the producer, and I'm inviting you to join me on a transformative journey where we will exchange laughter, of course, the best medicine of them all. Reflect on cherished memories. Remember that time that the little boy grabbed my hand instead of his mother's at the amusement park? Yikes. And of course, discover gratitude while navigating one of life's hardest challenges, loss. So get ready to grow with me, Portia the producer. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Grow with Portia. I am your host, Portia Booker, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to keep up with the latest and greatest of all with Grow with Portia. So some of you guys may remember that when my dad made his transition back in 2023, I mentioned that I had to forgive him for the things that he didn't do and also the things that he did. And one of the things that I'm very grateful for to this day is being able to show up for him, even when he couldn't always show up for me. Right. And I think one of the other parts of this is that learning what forgiveness looks like from my own language. Right. How many of us have been served the regurgitated platitudes of what forgiveness should look like? You should be all, kumbaya, peace be with you, all that stuff. But that doesn't always work for all of us. So today, I have the honor of being joined by an individual who I consider a soul mother of mine. She's also a forgiveness expert, also a spiritual wisdom mentor, and the host of the Change podcast. She's a speaker and author as well. So welcome to Grow with Portia, Miss Nicole Harvick. Nicole, how are you today?
Oh, I'm so good, and I'm so happy to be here. Anytime I can spend any amount of time with you, I am just excited.
Nicole, same, because I think the world right now could use a little bit of wisdom from you on what forgiveness can look like, especially with all the things going on, right? And so,
Oh,
for starters, Nicole, what are you grateful for today?
I am grateful that I have a house to live in because it's extremely cold here. And I think about the people that don't, and I know there's a lot of them. And so right now it's something simple as just having a roof over my head.
That part. The weather has definitely been giving us a little bit of Arctic vibes
Ooh,
and you know, just going back to the gratitude of simplicity, right? Having a roof over your head, being able to layer up in different clothes because sometimes even the house, even though you may have heat, the heat isn't always in abundance where you feel like you're sitting on a beach all day, right? So I appreciate you sharing that, Nicole. I'm the same way. I practice gratitude every single day. And sometimes it's just the little things, right? The things that we wake up to that are truly the foundation of what we can be grateful for. And Nicole,
absolutely.
and Nicole, as I opened up, I talked about forgiving my dad, right, for the things that he didn't do. And I'm sure, Nicole, for you, I know that forgiveness hasn't always been the backpack on your back that you carry to this day and that you help other people with. So can you share with our audience, Nicole, how did forgiveness become a part of your realm?
Well, I'm going to make it really compact because we could talk about this for days, but it started in 2013 when I found out my husband had been cheating on me. And the way I found out was through my youngest daughter who was in 6th grade because her iPod Touch was synced with his phone. So somehow we still didn't even know how this happened, but the universe shifted all those messages to her, and she started sending me pictures and comments and sex and text. So on top of just being cheated on, there was the devastation of my 6th grader seeing this, which was awful. But as I started understanding what had happened, understanding what I needed to do from that moment forward, I knew that there was no salvation for that marriage, and really there shouldn't have been. But I went on a healing journey of my own, just me. And it's really interesting when you're by yourself doing something because the only one you can look to is to you to make it right, to do what works for you. So I started that healing journey, and Portia, I went out and got every certificate a person could get. I mean, I tell people you could line the walls with my certificates. They all helped me. You know, it was tuning forks, it was sound, it was meditation, it was everything. And while I was feeling better, I'm like, my hair's falling out. I'm scratching my skin until I bled. And I'm like, something's not working. Something's not working. And what I found out it was is I was not practicing forgiveness.
Mm.
And I really didn't, that had never really been in my life before. And I didn't really understand it. So I went off the high dive in trying to figure this out and what it is, how it works, why I should give. And lo and behold, what I figured out is it's not for them, it's for me. And what I thought about was why would I choose to carry a burden that someone that was supposed to not hurt me? And then I thought, I don't want to carry that with me for life. If he didn't care enough to not do it, why should I carry around that? And so I started researching, and and I went to psychologists, psychiatrists, I went to women's meetings, and everything just left me cold. It's like all we did is talk about it over and over and over and regurgitate. Then long story, went to Hawaii, found something called ho'oponopono, which is an ancient Hawaiian forgiveness practice. It consists of 4 phrases: I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. And what I didn't realize were those were for me. Those were absolutely for me. I'd never told myself I loved myself. I never thanked myself for anything because I just thought it was part of being a wife and mom. So those were big things, and I'm sorry hit me the hardest because I had to look at myself and forgive myself for not using my voice to protect me. I didn't want fights in the family. I didn't want angry words because I was raising 2 daughters. I never spoke up for myself, ever. And so
Mm.
I had to forgive myself for not, I don't want to say putting me first, but at least putting me in line. I always kind of gave in to him because I didn't want the girls to see anything. And I was so angry at myself when I figured that out. And man, did I repeat those 4 phrases over and over and over. And I thought, how this can't work, it's free. This can't work, it's free. But I kept noticing I was shedding layers and layers and layers. And it's not easy work because when you do mirror work and look at yourself, you're like, well, you have to take responsibility for you. And there were some things that I looked at and I thought, oh yeah, I kind of did do that. So not an easy journey, Portia, at all. But I came out on the other side. And what I thought about is if I can go through that forgiveness and forgive myself, I can help other people. And I learned that that whole experience did not happen to me, it happened for me.
Nicole, first of all, I commend you because I'm sure that probably you were ready to crack walnuts with your butt cheeks by how furious you were
Oh,
with the
girl.
messages to your daughters. iPad, seeing literally the receipts, right? You were in the position to see the receipts where most people have to kind of hunt. You literally just had the treasure box open up for you
Oh,
organically.
Pandora's box.
Literally. And Nicole, when you talked about going to Hawaii and discovering Ho'oponopono and the phrase "I'm sorry" hit you the hardest, one of the things that comes to my mind is how there tends to be a lot of shame around people using that word "I'm sorry." And I'm curious, Nicole, for you, what did it take for you to build that relationship with your body to hear that phrase, "I'm sorry"? instead of taking it as something negative, but something that has helped you to release so much over the years that you've been doing this.
And I love that you say the years because it is ongoing. And one of the books that I read was from Don Miguel Ruiz, The Four Agreements.
Mm,
And I still read that about once a year. And what I learned from that book was take nothing personally. It's not
mm,
about you, it's about is receiving messages or thoughts or processing them. And that hit home and I thought, "Oh my gosh, it's not just about me. It's about him." And that was like just this huge epiphany. And I thought, okay, I can do this, but I still had to look at myself. And I was angry because, I grew up in the 80s when greed was good in real estate. And this voice never stopped. If, someone was trying to steal a client and I thought, why did I do that? Why did I let my voice stop with him? And I took the kids into consideration, but I was really angry because there were so many times I should have stood up for me. But I don't think I loved myself then like I know how to do now. It just wasn't anything I knew about. And the forgiveness is really what took me to the self-love.
mm. And really, that opened the door big time for you,
Oh,
Nicole, to reclaim your voice that had been suppressed because let's be realistic as women, we're conditioned to quote unquote keep sweet, keep the peace
mm-hmm.
all the time instead of using our voice because what we're going to be labeled as being, what, we won't
The
say
B
that on
word.
here.
And yeah,
And
exactly.
Nicole, I haven't read the Four Agreements in a long time, but I remember reading that about take nothing personally. And I think, right, I'm sure there's a part of you that had to grieve that version of you to be the woman who we see today. And I'm curious, Nicole, let's be realistic. We have moments where we have memories that come back up of these scenarios where we're angry we didn't use our voice. We're angry at the person who showed us the receipts of them having an affair. And how does that look for you today to still choose forgiveness in those moments when you're upset? When think back on you not using your voice, how does that look for you today when those moments arise when you're angry, when you're upset?
And Portia, I'm glad you're bringing this up because forgiveness is not one and done.
Mm-hmm.
You'll feel less about something, but all of 2025 for me was pretty much about continuing to heal myself. And I would do meditation, I would do yoga, but I still knew there were spots that little things that were stuck. And it was really, really interesting because I realize that healing is a lifelong process. Forgiveness is a lifelong process. Loving yourself is a lifelong process. And so, do they still come up? Yes, every once in a while they do. And you're like, now, wait a minute. We went through this, body. What are you doing bringing it back, to face me? But if they bring it back to face me, it's because there's some little corner or something that didn't get removed properly. And so I know now this will be until I die, working on myself to better myself, to love myself, to honor myself. And it's a journey I look forward to.
Nicole, I'm glad you brought this up and shared that because I know there's so many people. Let's be realistic. There's a lot of different coaches out there that want to implant regurgitated programming into people that they have to, forgive all the time, or you should find gratitude in this, all the shoulds, right? All the programming. And I think so many people become stuck again and suppress their emotions because of new programming, right? And they
Mm-hmm.
think that it's a one and done process. But as you just mentioned, we're human. Emotion, just like grief, right? Grief is seasonal, where certain seasons of the
Yes.
year, I'm sure, Nicole, you may remember maybe your former husband's birthday, or you see a picture of you and your daughters and them, and it brings up some
It,
strong moments.
yeah, your heart remembers too. Your heart remembers the good times, but but also keep them, acknowledge them, love them, but that doesn't now it doesn't make me want to ever there's never thought of going back to him. Never. But there's a thought of coming home to me.
Mm, I love that because I think so many people feel that notion that, oh, should I go back? Should I reach out? Did I make the right decision? Little digression here. I've shared recently over the last couple of weeks about my TV career crumpling
Mm-hmm.
and in more detail than before. And there was moments, Nicole, when once I stepped away, I'm like, should I have stayed? Could I have made this work? And when I think back on it now, at least today, I wouldn't want to step back into that realm because I'm a lot happier now being able to express the stories that I want to without filter,
Mm-hmm.
and also help more people because life isn't a soundbite. Life
Right.
isn't a news clip. There's more to life than just these little moments. And also at the same time, everybody who we encounter, every single circumstance leaves an imprint on our heart. And
It
that's the
does.
beautiful part. So I'm glad you brought that up, Nicole. I am, because I think so many people are stuck in this either or instead of an and,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Exactly. And once you make peace with yourself, once you learn to love yourself, but also one of the things that I learned was I did what I thought was right at the time with the knowledge I had. So was it in retrospect, was it correct? Not really, but it got me through those times and I didn't know any different. So that was another thing I had to forgive myself for. But when I started realizing all these things, I thought it was hard to fathom, but I thought maybe some of those things he did, he thought was right at the time, you know. The cheating, I don't know how you would ever justify that, but but some of the other choices he made in conversation or what he chose. All I knew is that once I realized certain things, it was easier for me to forgive others.
Mm, that part. And, Nicole, I'm glad we're having this conversation today because I think right now, as I brought up in the beginning, there's so much going on, right? Where people are, let's be realistic, showing their true colors, right? And I'm
Ooh.
not going to go political here, but for Nicole, for our audience who's tuning in today, how can they begin a forgiveness practice? Because I think, let's be realistic, that there's this notion that forgiveness looks like kumbaya. Everybody sits around a campfire. But how can they really utilize and build a forgiveness practice that helps them to not only heal, also grow and show more people grace?
You know, Portia, forgiveness can be ugly because you're crying, you're in a heap, you feel worthless at times when you're trying to do this. But then you have to take it slow. And I just started with small things like, meditation. I
Mm,
would do, 10 minutes of meditation. And what that would do in that time is it would bring me peace inside. This is all about inside. This is not outward. You never go outside of yourself. Everything is inside of yourself. And then I just started reviewing things in my mind. Was I that bad? No, I really wasn't. Was he that bad? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And so I just assessed it honestly from my heart. And that's when I started taking care of myself. It brought me to self love. Treat yourself kindly during those times and don't even try to figure it out because sometimes you can like, oh, okay, now I get it, but it doesn't matter because it happened and you're probably going to be changing a lot. So just acknowledge that it did, let it go. Free yourself from all of those thoughts. And sometimes there's those little stickers that are still inside you that you have to pull out, but it's more about taking care of yourself, loving yourself, acknowledging that there were things you did wrong. Come to terms with that. And then you can start doing bigger things.
Nicole, I'm glad you brought up the accountability again, because I think sometimes people fall into the all or nothing boat,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where we, it takes two to tango, right? There was two of us in this situation when it happened. And so what role did I play here? Right. And learning how to say, you know what, I could have did this better, but I know for next time. Right.
Exactly, exactly. And always what I started doing is, yes, that happened. What did I learn from it? What am
Mm.
I taking forward with me? How would I react now versus then? And you can look at yourself and know that you are a totally different person. And it's just so interesting because people always say forgive and forget. And
Ugh.
I don't like that even a little bit. But what I will tell you is what I learned for myself is I forgave willingly. No one forced me except my body, who was, that was getting sick. But then I thought, I don't want to forget this. I just want to feel it without pain. And that way I never repeat it.
I think the phrase probably should read forgive and don't forget the lesson you took away from it, essentially.
Exactly. Exactly. Forgive, but what did you learn? and
Okay.
and keep that forever. And you really can at some point extract the pain. It's physical. Trauma is physical. And what I had to do is I had to release it, sometimes with anger, sometimes tears, sometimes coughing, but I had to have that out of me. And so that was more of a physical release. And when you cry, it's so interesting. My guides told me this. I woke up one morning and they're like chatting at me. They said, no, you don't understand when you cry, whatever you're thinking about, the trauma is releasing through your tears.
Mm,
And I thought,
mm.
wow, everything has a reason.
I mean, literally, your entire body has a filtering system, right? And I think we've been so disconnected from these elements that, so much trauma, anger gets stuck in our body because we're ashamed to feel and to be human. And tears are a natural emotion, they're a
Mm,
natural processing system for us.
exactly. And people want to shut down those kind of things because you're not weak. You're actually very
Right.
strong. You're very strong when you can do this. Don't sit there in a corner and hold back tears if something's affecting you. There's a reason they're coming up. Let them go.
Yet, that part, let them go. Well, Nicole, for our audience who's tuning in, we're going to be wrapping up here soon. And again, lots of gratitude to you for coming on the show today. Nicole, I'm sure there's going to be people in our audience who want to connect with you. Obviously, check out your podcast, read your book. If our audience wants to connect with you today, Nicole, how can they do that?
Once I forgave myself and started loving myself, I decided to brand myself because I finally believed in me. So everything, anywhere you want to get a hold of me, it's Nicole Harvick. And I'm on Facebook, I am on Instagram, I am on TikTok, I'm on LinkedIn, all under my name. So that makes me very proud. I am in the process of writing a book on forgiveness, my story, and it will also have a workbook attached. My podcasts are Monday and Tuesday, and they're live on my Facebook and they're live on my LinkedIn. So I'm really putting myself out there, which is very different for me, Portia. I've always been the one that wanted to be in the background, and I finally, once I created a version of me, I didn't create it. This is who I am. I never knew that before. And I know that there's so many more things to come for me. And I'm very, very excited about it.
Well, everybody, you heard Nicole. You can find her on all social media platforms under her name, Nicole Harvick. Also, we will have her information in the show notes for you to connect with her. As she mentioned, you can check out her podcast on Mondays and Wednesdays. And Nicole, I'm excited for you about your new book. Definitely let us know when it comes out and we'll do a full author interview with you on the show. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, everybody, that was Nicole Harvick that you heard from today on this episode of Grew Up Portia. And that concludes our conversation for today. And until next time, everybody, peace and hair grease, everyone.